Welcome back to Dr. Skull Gaming. Here we are with part 2 of my series about the World Open from 2022. Today we're going to be taking a look at my first game. It's round 2 of the tournament. I took a bye in round 1 because I was on an airplane. So we pick up round 2. I have half a point, and I am going against Snehu Prabhu. Her rating is 1820. Her FIDE rating is something like 1650 or something. And so I am definitely excited. It's my first game at the World Open. I thought I would be maybe nervous, but I'm really not. I'm feeling pretty serene coming into it. I will say, though, I didn't have any tea in the morning, which is sort of normal for me. And it took me a little while to kind of like really get rolling. But let's go ahead and take a look at the game. So I've been playing d4 for the last 2 months or so I wasn't about to just throw out e4 out of nowhere without having prepped the millions of different possibilities. It's why I've been liking d4 so much. It just feels more manageable. My opponent played d5. I was happy about that. Lets me lead into, I've been playing, I don't want to call this system, but it feels system-y. I'm doing something pretty similar, playing this pseudo-Catalan. They played knight f6, I play g3, they play e6, I play g2, fianchettoing here. This is all normal stuff. They play the bishop here. This is, to me, this is like the most easy to react to thing black can do. They're just kind of like playing the basic, I don't want to say passive, but not like super testing moves, and just kind of letting me do my thing and letting me set up. So then I castle. Now look, I'm all ready to roll. I'm castled. I've got my Catalan bishop here all ready to roll. Things are looking good. It says here that the book move is to go castles. But my opponent played the really clever move of b5. And what makes b5 so interesting is that my obvious next follow-up, if my opponent were to castle, which is the normal move, is to go c4. This is the whole point. And then my opponent makes the decision. Are they going to play into the open Catalan? Or are they not going to play into the open Catalan? Ball's in their court. They get to decide, but no matter what it is, it's a Catalan structure I'm used to. So what my opponent does is says, no, we're not going to do that. I am going to try to exploit the fact that you didn't go c4 earlier and you tried to be cute and cut out a whole bunch of things like the Nimzo Indian. But the punishment is good luck playing c4 now. And this is definitely a part of the Chessable course that I've been going through. This idea that they may play b5 is a big deal. But I'm not an openings guy. My goal is to spend as little time as I can on opening prep. And so I didn't know cold what the answer to this was. So I had to think for a bit here. How am I going to respond to this? And as we're thinking, Imrahal here is asking, what was my best meal in Philly? See, we're very different, Imrahal. I didn't go eat at like cool places. To be honest, the best meal I had was in the hotel bar. They had a really good grilled chicken sandwich, and they had these delicious hot pretzels, and that was my favorite meal. But I didn't go anywhere great. I went to like a local pizza place and a local burger place. Nothing interesting and exciting. So the move here that my course recommends and that the openings book here is telling me, and that seems obvious, is to play a4. I didn't love this. I was thinking they can push. And then I wasn't entirely sure where this goes. Now, what I'm supposed to do is play here. And then I thought this was the case. And then I looked at something like this, and I was like, I don't know. This is probably good because of this, so maybe that doesn't work. I just wasn't entirely sure what to do. What they're supposed to do is take. I saw that. And then I take back, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I was like, this looks fine, but like this pawn is poking out now, and I don't love this position. Also, this bishop is kind of like, especially if they get c6 in or something, this bishop's kind of like permanently off this diagonal. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so while this seems fine, I didn't do it. Like, now I know this is the right answer, and so I will just play this line. I'll study a little bit more what this middle game plan is after this, but it seems totally fine, right? We can just develop this bishop now. We can probably, if we want, pile up here, and then if they were to play c6, it becomes this massive weakness. Like, what are we going to do with this c pawn? It's on a semi-open file. It seems like it's going to be trouble. So this is the main line, but I didn't play that. Dan Boxstream says he played d5. He played b5 against me on move 3 in our 30-30 game a few months ago. I'm a fan. Yes, exactly, and that was the day. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because I had gotten my course and I saw that someone might play b5 and I paid no attention to it. Then Dan Box played b5 against me and I was like, oh, okay, that's like a legit move. And, you know, the openings database says it's a good move. My course says it's a good move. And so I looked at it, but I didn't really remember it, right? But when it happens over the board, and this is like that distinction between over the board play and like a long online gameplay, it's just more seared into my memory. And so I will now remember what I'm supposed to do against this because it happened over the board. All right, what I played was just develop the knight. My thought was that I still have things like a5, but now I've got some other options. Maybe I can do this, followed by this, and now the knight is also supporting it. And so my thought was that I can just get this push in, and what this push will allow me to do is if black ends up taking with this and this, then this diagonal comes alive, and boom, I'm in business, right? And so that was kind of my mindset, was like the other way we just looked at, this diagonal is kind of permanently closed off, and instead we're playing on the C file, whereas my idea gave me the possibility of bringing to life the Catalan bishop. Now, it doesn't work out all that great, I'm going to be honest. All right, what does black do here? The main move here is castles, according to the Lee chess book. My opponent did not do that. They immediately played c5. C5 feels aggressive to me, right? Like, they're also looking like they can push here, and it's kind of like, what is happening? So I wasn't entirely sure what to do. I was thinking b3 might be good here. If I play b3 here, now if they try to push through, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do. I don't love the idea of taking. So, like, let's look at what that would look like. I go b3, they go here. If I take, I don't think they take this way, right? That just opens up my diagonal. So instead they take this way, and we both have the same pawn structure, but black just feels better to me. Like, I don't have any pawn levers to disturb this pawn. So this diagonal is closed, which means the lever I'm going to have to find a way to exploit is the e4 lever. And that lever's harder to exploit, I have found, when I'm playing the Catalan. I just have a hard time making that lever work very well. And it just, this setup kind of worried me if we went into this. Also, I mean, this grabs a lot of space. Like, I don't know. It just feels like this pawn is really annoying. But maybe the answer is just playing e4 pretty soon. I can't play it right now. It would hang the pawn. But it might not even hang the pawn. Like, let's look at how this would work out. Let's just say they take, and then can I just go here? Now I have 3 on it. Maybe that's reasonable. I guess this pawn is also hanging though. So I don't know. This is now hitting this. This is just wild, interesting stuff. I'm not entirely sure what is even happening, because maybe black can go here and threaten this. I don't quite know what's happening. But the point is, I just didn't like this, but I might not have calculated it well enough, and e4 might have still been the answer. Again, hitting the base of the chain. But even so, let's say they don't take. Like, why are they even taking? Let's just waste. Oh, we'll just castle. And now what? If I go here, then they just back up, and maybe now there's a kingside attack here. because this knight has gone away from his defensive post. But I feel like this pawn chain is more menacing than my pawn chain. And the lever I have is like this really long-term lever. And I don't know, I don't really like the look of this. So I don't know. That's why I didn't do that. That's the bottom line. That's why I didn't do that. So what I did instead is I just took, thinking this way at least these pawns are broken up a bit. These pawns are a little disjointed, meaning this pawn is kind of a weakness until they push that. The problem, of course, is that it does develop this bishop, and that I didn't love. But, you know, my thought was they developed the bishop here. I can move my knight here, forcing the bishop back, so I'm sort of developing with tempo. And then if I want, I can go up here and occupy this d4 square. They can't push right now because I would take. Also, it would open up this diagonal. And so I thought, okay, this seems like a pretty reasonable thing. I'm getting a free tempo here, and then I get to move in here. So that was my thought there, why this seemed like it worked pretty well. Looking at it afterwards, it feels like maybe that was a mistake of some sort. I'm moving this piece a second time. It seems like some other possibilities here might be, I was going to say this, but then this pawn is a real weakness. Like this is quite the clamp on ever being able to play c4 now. I would have to go like b3, c4, and that's still an option. Another possibility is to go like a4, and then if they kind of have to go here, or I don't know, I guess not. I was thinking like once these two are connected, a4 is not as good, but right now a4 feels really quite good. So I don't know, lots of things going on here. I decided to play this for the reasons that I said. I wanted to be able to then bump the knight into here. He moved the bishop back here, which kind of surprised me a bit. For some reason, I thought he was going to leave the bishop on this diagonal. I said he, it was she. I thought she would leave the bishop here. I don't know, it just looks a little more menacing than here, where it's hitting so much less. I guess her thought, though, was that here maybe now this pawn push is covered, followed by this pawn push, and things, you know, could get interesting. I decided to play a4 here and try to muck up this stuff. She did not take, which would have been a terrible play, right? If she takes, I take back. I've got an active rook. This is not a good situation for her. Instead, she just pushes by with the intention probably of playing a5 soon. And then again, all this space is taken. The one nice thing, though, she doesn't have as much of a clamp on this c4 square. So that's kind of nice. All right. And then, so here's where I kind of lost my way. What's up, Coach David Mensik? How are things? So here I am. I have lots of things, but I didn't have a clear plan here. I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I know I want to go in here maybe, but then this is coming now that this is backing it up. So that kind of undoes that plan. I don't want to put my bishop here anymore, which would have looked great because now, you know, this isolated, or this, my pawn structure is all messed up. I didn't really want to put my bishop here because now I'm locking in my e-pawn. So I was just really kind of lost here, and I thought, okay, I don't have a good plan here. So David is suggesting bishop g5 as part of a plan. Go here, then here, then here. And that looks quite reasonable. I like that a lot. I was looking at, I really more than anything wanted to develop this bishop. That was like #1 goal. But I just couldn't find a square. Like I said, I didn't like this square. I didn't like this square. I didn't like this square because I was thinking, Dave, that I wanted this guy here. And that's why I did the move I did, to be able to push e4. And so instead I went here, rook to e1, prepping this, thinking I'll have to go here and then prep it. But I think you're right. I think I'm behind in development a bit. Well, no, actually I'm not behind in development. But why not develop this piece? That I think after the game, I started thinking about this. Like, this just seems kind of like the most obvious move here is just develop this piece. Another question is, can we push c4 and just try to break open this diagonal? I kind of feel like they're going to take here. And then this just doesn't look good to me, right? Like, this looks kind of a mess. So I decided to opt for rook e1 with the intention of pushing this pawn. But it just kind of felt, yeah, like David is saying, it felt a little slow. It felt a little meandering. It just, I'm not developing this bishop. Like, let's just develop the bishop while we can. It just seems kind of nuts. Yeah, I think that was another thing I was wondering is, if this, am I giving up the bishop pair? So we have to imagine something like this. And then now when I go here, this still, I don't know. And I think that was part of it, right? Is that I was hesitant to give up the bishop pair at this point in the game. It felt like a game where the bishops could be really strong. So this just seemed like rook e1 felt like one of these moves that was like, here. It's an improving move. I haven't fully committed myself to anything. I'm just playing good chess. The problem is, it was a little meandering. All right, my opponent plays bishop b7. Now on this diagonal, the cute, cool Catalan stuff are kind of gone now. And finally, I just say, all right, we're going to put our knight in here. This has been the goal sort of all along. I'm trying to figure out why I didn't think e5 would be kind of brutal. What was my plan against e5? I must have had something in mind. I think it was, if they go e5, so let's just put the move on the board. I go e5, or they go e5. Can I go here? It looks like the bishop would have to come back to, say, here. But these pawns look pretty menacing. How am I dealing with them? That is a bit unclear. Yeah. I'm having a hard time figuring out why I thought they couldn't go e5 and why my opponent didn't just break off e5. Let's see, is this actually what I did? Yes, that is actually what I did. So, Rock the Board says, hey, Doctor, been enjoying your podcast a lot recently. Keep them coming. Thank you. And if you haven't noticed, I accidentally released the newest one a day early, and it is me talking about my experiences in the last year as a podcaster and coming back to chess with the one and only Neil Bruce. Okay, maybe this is the thing. After e5, what if I go here? Yes, I think this is what I was looking at. That was okay. Now, if the bishop comes here, we go here. So they don't want to do that. So the bishop would have to come back to here to defend this pawn if they want to both keep the bishops and hold the pawn. And I was pretty much fine with that, right? This kind of feels like, yes, these pawns are rolling a bit, but this bishop is so out of play. I can't remember what I was thinking that my follow-up would be, because it's important to have a follow-up. You can't just have a move. The nice thing is once this e5 comes, it really takes the sting out of e4. Because if I try to go e4, I mean, first of all, they can just plunk it off right now. But if they couldn't, they could just push by and be like, okay, see ya. Now your Catalan bishop is like forever doomed behind your own pawn. So I am having a bit of a hard time figuring out why e5 isn't pretty darn great here. I feel like there must be something that I'm missing today that I was seeing in the game, because my opponent also didn't play it and played a6, which looks weird to me. I would have totally understood a5. That seems quite good, right? We're just anchoring this pawn. Good luck doing something about it. What exactly does a6 do? Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, so it was to control this square, because the thought was it must be that we were both looking at this. So why is this so good? e5 goes here. Yeah. You can A move, but it must be the mess move. I don't know. All right, so yeah, so I remember now that they went here, And I was surprised because I thought they were going to push e5, and my plan was to come around this way and to get to this position. Now, again, like I said, I don't actually know what the follow-up from here is. Like, this doesn't look that amazing. Maybe I was thinking something like this, because if push takes here, and I think I'm winning this. I'm up material. The king is kind of loose, but I think I'm winning there. So that's what I was thinking, is that I was going to come around to here if e5. So they don't push e5, and instead they play a6 to hold me out of this square, and I'm like, wait, what? Okay, well, I wasn't going to that square anyway. And after the game, I think we talked about it a bit, and she remarked that she didn't think that was the strongest move for her. So I basically get a free move. So what am I going to do with my free move? We're back to this dang bishop. What are we going to do with this guy? Again, do I want to go here and commit to trading him? Do I want to go here? No. Do I want to go here and block in my pawn? No. So what I decide is I'm going to go here, and then this will allow me to push this pawn. And of course, if takes, I'm on this great diagonal. That sounds good. If I push the pawn and they don't take, well, I can just take. And I imagine they'll have to go here. And then if they take back, I'm fine with that. If they take back this way, I'm fine with this. I'm trading off this bishop that I hadn't developed yet for their pretty well-stationed bishop. That was my thought. They jumped into e4, and I was kind of like, okay, now they're coming for this bishop. But is that the worst? This was a bishop that I wasn't really using, that wasn't having much of an impact. What do I want to do about it? What I decided to do was give them the opportunity to trade off this really well-stationed knight for this bishop. That was my plan. And so I did kind of a waiting move. I went here with the intention being they're going to take, I'm going to take back, and now I'm going to be able to push this pawn without too much trouble. Let's say they castle, I push the pawn, they push back, takes. Oh, look at this disaster. Yeah, that's not going to work. So we're not going to do it like that. So let's say maybe even here, we take, they castle, we push here, they go here, and we don't take right away. In fact, maybe we just play c4. And now we're threatening to bust this up. Our Catalan bishop might come alive. Maybe it'll get traded off, but it's currently doing nothing right now. Those were the kind of ideas I had with what I was considering a waiting move, just encouraging my opponent to make this trade. I had decided that I thought that this would be my best option. They didn't do that. They played queen f6, which was kind of annoying because it's hitting this knight, it's hitting this pawn, it's x-raying this pawn, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of good. Like I really wasn't expecting this to happen. And so now I didn't really know what to do, to be honest. I was like, how am I supposed to deal with this? Like, first of all, I have to deal with this threat. That's like the number one thing. I could just move this rook back and admit that I wasted time in the first place moving it to e1. That's certainly a possibility. I could do something like move this bishop here, and then I'm not trading it. I'm protecting that pawn. This guy's being protected again. That seems fine. What I decided to do, and now that I see this move especially, I'm looking at it and I'm like, it seems like that was probably the good chess move. But what it did instead is going to look weird. I decided to trade this guy. My thought was it relieves the pressure here after they take. And I was thinking like I could maybe go here or here. I wanted to move the bishop first though. But this bishop is bad, or at least not good, right? It's like technically a bad bishop. There's a lot of stuff on these white squares. The problem is it does open up all of these loose spots around my king, right? So I was aware of that when I made that trade, but I felt like it was going to be really hard to get in there given that this bishop was closed off. What I can't let them do is play this. Then things get a little bit dicey. So I'm a little surprised I didn't just resolve that right away. I think the problem is if I go here, this bishop's kind of shut out. So what I decided to do was try to resolve this first, because this thing is being x-rayed, and this pawn is kind of annoying. And then my opponent played... All right, well, I think they maybe should have played this. I don't know. Does that work? It gives away a pawn. If they go here, let's say I go here. I don't know. These two bishops just look... That looks kind of menacing. I don't know if there's enough there. That might just be a looks menacing. But it feels like these weak squares are way more... just way more targetable now. I'm not really exactly sure how they get in. Maybe they end up doing something like here, 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 and I have to do weird things like this to fix that. I don't know. That feels like a reasonable approach. What she did instead was play e5, which I thought was quite strange. She played e5. I don't remember what my thought process was. But I think I was feeling like I could go here and put even more pressure on this pawn. And I think I was pretty happy with how this was shaking out. Because now after I go here, look at these bishops. They're just like trash bishops. So I took here. No, I went here. I have to move out of the way. I'm hitting this pawn again. So she takes. I take back. And I was feeling all right here. Like I'm on this bishop's loose. I mean, it's being backed up right now, but you know, whenever you see a piece like this that's just kind of like only backed up by the queen, it just feels like maybe there's some tactics brewing in the future. I have possibilities of going here. I feel like again, the best play for her might have just been pushing here. Yes, it gives up the pawn. But now I'm here. I going back, I think this e5 move was just awful. Like, this is just, I don't even understand that move. Like, why are we so intent on kicking this knight? I feel like she goes here, and yes, it's a gambit, but boy, that looks scary to me. Okay, so let's move forward again where we were. So I took this pawn with the bishop. Again, I think this might be the best move. My opponent developed their knight. They haven't developed the knight yet. Seems quite reasonable. But now this gives me this option to either go here or here and just say, that's it. I didn't want to push this pawn because, to be honest, I just didn't want another weak square, right? This is the only one that's not weak. So I went here. And now look at this. This is a disaster. Like, I'm feeling quite good about this. Yes, I traded my Catalan bishop off, but my opponent has played... I don't want to say badly because the computer may totally disagree. I'll say played in a manner that surprised me, where she just locked in all of her own bishops. Now, the thing is, she does have stuff like this, right? Where this could be pretty bad. Or maybe just bing, bing... and now we're holding down this, and things might get messy from there. But it just looks... It looks okay for me. Like, I'm finally feeling okay. And she finally castles. And I'm thinking this. I'm thinking I'm winning. These two pawns are both weaknesses. My setup is pretty darn solid. I think, not only do I think I'm okay, I think I'm ahead. That's what I'm thinking in the game. Looking at it again, I'm a little worried still about all these weaknesses. I think I might be ahead. All right. So I decided to go ahead and target the pawn. Let's get one of these pawns. It's also going to let me connect up these pawns if I want, or, you know, try to do stuff like this in the future. She sticks her knight in a very menacing spot. And also is backing up this pawn. So I decide to come up here and say, okay, well then I will attack all these other things instead. So like if this bishop moves away, What was I thinking? I think I'm thinking then I have this opportunity as well to come here and follow up with a bunch of attacks. So she moves the bishop away, and yeah, I move my knight in, and now this knight g4 means this pawn is falling. And it's a bit problematic because the knight is attacked twice. And so if this pawn is gone, the knight is hanging, right? So this means that, let's say she just went, I don't know, here. I think this just wins the pawn, right? Takes, wins the pawn. I guess the problem is this. So maybe that doesn't win a pawn after all. But I'm thinking I've got a lot of pressure. We'll just say that. So my opponent plays here because they have to move the queen. And then I do take this pawn. I guess let's see how this shakes out. All right. And then they go back with the knight because they're worried. Oh, actually, wait. This is important. They moved their queen here and offered a draw. She offered a draw. She is 200 points higher than me. She offers the draw here. And I was like, I think I'm going to win. Like, these pawns are both really weak. I think I'm going to win. Now, the mistake is this, I think. This is not a win for white. White should not be thinking they're going to win this game. Because these two bishops are quite menacing. And so if I'm able, like, let's say in a nice world I'm able to win these two pawns. Okay, cool. Guess what? Now these bishops are awesome, right? Like, they're bad now because of these pawns. So the only way I feel like I actually would have any winning chances would be to trade off these guys first, then take these pawns, especially the light squared bishop. This light squared bishop with all these weaknesses is really scary. And so I think that is what, in the heat of the moment, I didn't get. I was like, I'm going to win this game. No draw for me. I've got this. I bet if we were to turn on the computer would say black is winning because black has the two bishops and you have all these weaknesses. If you take this weakness of theirs, you're going to get destroyed. Portnoy says, could we take the knight with the queen instead of the bishop in that line? We'll take a look at that. And it was great meeting you at the World Open. Hope you had a good tournament. Thanks, Portnoy. I had a great time. I went 3.5 out of 8, which might not sound good, but they were all against people at least 170 points rated higher than me. So I gained about 50-ish rating points. It hasn't come out yet, but yeah, overall it was a great event. Good time, good tournament. Okay, so I declined the draw. No way. No draw for me. I'm going to win this game. Wish I had taken the draw. I'm just saying that. Wish I had taken this draw. All right, so I take the pawn. Let's look at this line if they take back. Takes. If they try to pin, we take. We are crushing. So that doesn't work. So I guess this pin doesn't work because the queen is being attacked. So the queen's going to have to move out of the way. I don't know where we're going to put the queen. We'll just say here. And now it is an even game where I'm up a pawn. So this is what I'm seeing in the game. That I'm winning a pawn here. Why would I take a draw if I'm winning a pawn? The problem being, of course, now the bishops are going to come alive. So my opponent does not go for this liquidating of the material. And this is where my head is at, right? I'm not taking a draw because we're going to liquidate a bunch of material. I'm going to be up a pawn. You still have this weakness. I'm going to target it. I'm going to be up 2 pawns. And this bishop will be gone. And it'll just be this one bishop left. And yes, I have these weaknesses, but I'm up 2 pawns. I'll be fine. My opponent wisely does not do any of this trading and just says, no, we're not doing that. You can have the free pawn. It's almost a gambit, right? It's like, yeah, you got a pawn, but now this bishop's alive again. So there you go. All right. So this is where I decided it's time to play e3. I've got my bishop developed. I'm just going to lock this pawn in place. Boom. Hammer lock on that pawn. What I didn't really consider there is the weakness it created, and I wonder if, oh, I was going to say, I wonder if a better approach was to go here, but that is not a better approach because this is being attacked twice. So that's not the approach to take, but perhaps I could do something else where I move the knight and then stick a knight here, but I don't know. This doesn't look like it's possible. I can't come back the way I came. If I try to go here, it's going to get pinned this way. So maybe the best move is just solidifying here. But where's this knight going? I'm just realizing this. Why can't my opponent just play this? Which they do. Oh, that's right. I calculated all this. So I saw that they could do this, and it looks like it traps the knight, but it doesn't, because I have this really cool h4 dislodging the queen, allowing the knight then to get away. All right, so the queen comes back here, and now my knight can come in here. And then if the queen had gone, oh, never mind. I was going to say if the queen had gone here, I had a plan. Yeah, the plan was I would take. All right, so the queen has to go here. This allows the knight to get away. The queen comes here. And now the knight has this escape square. And this was my plan. I'm just going to come around and boom, look it. I'm back on the pawn. I am back on that pawn I was hoping to get. But I don't do that. I don't run away right here. And the reason is what? Because it sure seems like I should run away. All right, so the reason was, oh, that's right. Okay. So what I didn't want them to do was this. Boom, boom. So I saw that plan, and so I went here. The problem is this doesn't work. Like if I had calculated ahead at all, I would have realized they just go here. Well, not yet, but once the rook moves, of course. So they move the rook, threatening my queen, by the way. That's a problem. Also, queen can't take this guy. He's backed up. So I keep my queen on a spot where we're guarding this knight. The knight can still do this little journey. And then they play a5. And this is where I kind of lost the thread of the game a little bit here. Right here. I think this is where the first game of the tournament stuff started coming in. My mind got a little bit wobbly here, and I didn't do a good job calculating ahead. I just saw, like, I'll go here and keep this guy out of here, but it just didn't go right. So, like, I went here, they bring over, threaten the queen, and then he went here, and I just, like, completely lost the thread that their goal is to go here, and then to go here, and it's big trouble. And so when I'm making this move here, I just don't even have that in my mind, and I just kind of move my bishop to a safe spot. So I guess the question is, do I have a better move if their plan is to go here? I don't think I can go here. It seems like they could just threaten me pretty easily. But what about this move? If I do something like this, I continue keeping the knight out of there. Maybe now they go here to force the knight in. But if they're going to do that, that actually hangs a piece. So that does not work. Hanging piece alert, as I would say to my child. So they're not going to do that. So the point is, it's going to be much harder for them to get this knight in. They can probably work on it for a few moves and sort of reposition pieces, which then gives me time. But like I said, I kind of lost the thread of this and just kind of went like, cool, I'll just move my bishop to safety. And as soon as I did, I remembered like, oh, right. The whole reason I went here was to control this square. And now the knight is there. And now this is coming. And yo, what are we going to do about this? Like, this is not easily stopped. And I just could not figure out a way to stop this. And suddenly, this game, like 5 moves ago, where I confidently declined to draw, has really gotten away from me. And it's really unfortunate that I feel like it's really just, if I go here, I think I'm still fine. Like, it's still maybe black's winning because they have the 2 bishops, but at least this bishop is temporarily cut off. This knight doesn't have anywhere good to go. This looks fine. Like, it looks fine. And I just momentarily lapsed and made this move pretty quickly. It was just kind of like bishop attacked, bishop moves. Not going to move here. That's not going to work. Why would I move here? I'll just move here. This is a great diagonal. Didn't even think, just moved. And that is how I lost all of the games I lost in the tournament. Were these little bobbles in my brain where I was like, I played really intentionally and thoughtfully and carefully, and the one move that I just kind of went, this was fine, that's when I lost. It was super frustrating. So they went there. I could not figure out what to do here. So I moved my knight over. I moved my rook over, intending, I think, to just take off this knight when it hops in. Oh, no, I wasn't going to. He goes here. This is how I decided to defend the knight coming in, is just move both rooks. And I don't know, it's just like this rook here looks really, really, we're going to stick our rook here. Things just look a lot more passive for me. And then white makes the move that that's just been kind of queued up all game, right? This bishop sucks. These squares are all weak. What if we just put our bishop here? And now this knight is forced to go on his journey, which I felt fine still. I was like, I think this is going to be okay. But then pretty quickly it was like, really? Is it going to be okay? I just cut off your king completely. These squares are weak. If the queen ever gets in here, you're just dead. The knight could probably go boom, boom, and jump in at some point. Like, the light squares are looking bad. Looking bad. That's a jumbo pony, as Hikaru would say. That is a jumbo pony. That is a powerful knight. Okay, so now suddenly, if we look at just like 3 moves ago and now, I mean, look at this. This is just terrifying stuff. Everything's falling apart. What happened? It's kind of frustrating and a bit baffling. All right, so now I'm just kind of in scramble mode. I decide to go here. Actually, there's all kinds of threats here. This is the important thing to note. Not just that this cuts this off. Let's just say I make a random move and I go here. They have stuff like this. Wait, is this not yet? Or do they want to go this way, actually? Here, 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 check. Queen can't go here. King goes here, I guess. Queen goes here. Or not queen goes here. The knight goes here. This is this mate? Not quite mate. I have to give up my queen. And it's just like game over. Like suddenly this game went from being great to just dead. Like everything's falling apart. This bishop that's done nothing all game is suddenly useful. This bishop that did nothing all game, suddenly quite useful. And everything's falling apart. So at least I made this move. I brought my rook here to cover this. So now if they tried that same idea of takes, now they don't have this move for the mate because I just come in and take. So that's covered. The problem is they can just come here and bring this rook in. And it's like, oh no. Oh goodness, here comes the other rook. And I don't know what the answer is here. This is where I wonder if the answer was to just sack here. Just take... I don't know if this works, actually. Something like this. I don't know. Maybe they don't do that. But this feels like maybe this works. The problem is, though, then they have, like, this guy suddenly, and, like, everything's bearing down on me. So I wasn't really sure what to do here, but I went here, and this doesn't fix any problems, right? It's like, what does this move even do? Like, this is, again, where I just kind of, like, lost the thread of the game for a moment. I went here very intentionally because I calculated that I needed this rook here. So what does this rook do? This rook is literally doing nothing. Because if this rook can't move, then what is this guy doing? Like, a better spot would have probably been here. So if I move this rook to here, now suddenly, oh, yeah, and actually I do think this would have been the best move. I am now guarding, and I think this is the better sack of the exchange, because now it's kind of like, okay, this is well covered. I still think I'm doing badly, but also now these weak light squares don't seem quite as dire because the light square bishop is gone. I still think I'm in big trouble. I mean, why can't they just, like, I don't know, bring all the rooks in and just start sacking everything, and my pieces are on the wrong side. But the point is, I think this does something, whereas this move is just a garbage, like, looks optically decent of like, ooh, we line up our rooks, but we line them up on a closed file behind this. Like, it makes no sense. And so my opponent just went here, and now they're like, well, I'm threatening everything. So I took this very troublesome knight. They took back. I took here. But the problem is this whole mate threat still works because I lost my extra defender of this row. And although I got rid of the knight, they replaced it with a rook. I'm wondering if you had time to play b3, knight b2 at any point to distract the knight on d3. I don't know. Let's go back. So instead of here, if we go b3, I think this move is a must. b3, then they go here. The knight f. I think this is too slow. I think the plan works now of takes, check, here, because of this extra defender. I think once this guy came, I was in trouble. Yeah, Rosados is sacking the exchange for some air. Yeah, I think I had to stack the exchange. The question is, which way was best? And I think that is a legit question. When we are here, this move loses. So I think I had two ways to sack the exchange. Here, or... actually, I think that's the only one, because if I go here, I think we still have the same problem of I have to move this guy out of the way. Let's say I go here. Well, no, maybe this... No, because then we have to sack both exchanges. So I think the answer is we had to sack the exchange here. Instead of this move, I think I just had to move here. And like I said, I'm not sure that this is like the answer and suddenly I'm fine. I don't think I'm fine. My guess is the computer would say black easily wins, but I think this is a harder 1800 victory. Like, I don't think this is quite as much of a given as the way I did it, which just was like instantly lost. I wasted a move while my opponent was attacking me. And it just doesn't work. So I take, huzzah, I got rid of that annoying knight. But wait, oh, I needed a piece here to guard this square. Uh-oh, oh boy, am I gonna be okay? We already saw all this. It doesn't look like I'm gonna be okay. Wait, I took here? Okay, that's embarrassing. Wait, did I let her mate me? I feel like I resigned before that. I might have just looked at this with the computer. I think I resigned here. I realized I am actually dead. So, that's game one. Offered a draw. Was playing against an 1800. Had a terrible opening where I didn't even know what I was doing. But I still kind of held my own. So even though I lost on like one or two... just losing the thread of the game, like not a huge blunder, but just losing the thread. I came out of this actually feeling not too bad, which I know might sound weird. Rose says, I think at this point the position was way lost. The knight is too strong as piece are. I totally agree. Here, let's put in the engine here. I gotta think it's like black +6 or something. Engine says black is up 3.7. And that black's best move is the very weird looking knight c2. Okay, I don't think that does much. But that this move that I kind of liked as my best hope is -6. So, yeah, you're totally right. black is winning in crushing fashion. I think just getting this knight here is what loses the game. So let's go back and see what does the computer say if I move my bishop here. And just look at this. I haven't looked at this with a computer, so I'm curious. What does the computer say? If I move the bishop here, I think the computer is going to say black is winning. Black has the 2 bishops. These squares are too vulnerable. Black will be able to go around here. So I think black is like 1.3 or something, but I don't think it's as crushing. Okay, so it's pretty bad still. It's 2.1. Oh, coming down. 2.0, 1.9, but basically black has a lead. So that makes sense to me. And remember, it wasn't that many moves earlier where the draw was offered. Let's go back to there, and we'll see who the computer thinks is winning at that point. I guess it was a little ways back here. So here, black offers a draw. And my guess is the computer thinks black is winning here as well. It looks optically like white is winning, but I just think this plan is too strong. So I think it's still going to say black's up like 1.3. Ooh, okay. That's not the case. It says that white is up okay, it's going down, and now it's like 0.5 white is up. And white should take here like I take in the game. Okay, so basically this says white has the slight advantage. I feel like this is easier to play the black side for a human, though. I know it looks like white has all this stuff and these pawns are weak, but I think these bishops coming to life is just going to be too strong. So that's game 1. I had a really fun time with it, and let me rephrase that. I didn't like losing. I enjoyed playing against an 1800, holding my own, knowing I got to a point where she offered a draw. All that felt pretty good. Losing in the end did feel kind of terrible, but I am now at half a point technically because I took a bye in the first round. Going into round 2, or round 3, I guess, round 2 for me, and thinking like, okay, I'm going to be okay, right? Like I wasn't feeling devastated. Some of these games, I was so devastated, I didn't even know what to do afterwards. All right, well that wraps up my round 1, round 2 of the World Open. Thanks so much for hanging out. Stay tuned for part 3 of this series, which will be the next round.